Hello, hi, my name is Mojisola Edu, and I am an ELOE, and this is my final project for equity and opportunity in the context of disability. And the image behind me is an image of multiple different individuals with different disabilities. One is wearing a blue dress with green heels and brown hair. Another one is wearing a green dress with curly hair. Um, The other one has a service dog, a blue shirt and blue pants, um, uh, partially blind. Another image is an individual in a wheelchair with green shoes, blue pants, and green shirt with a smirk. And the other one is another um, individual with green shoes, green skirt, and blue top and reading glasses with a slight bobbish hair, and the other one is with a cane for blind individuals with a blue skirt, black top, and blondish hair to represent the different types of disabilities. Some are visible and some are invisible. And this applies to me as I am a 100% disabled Army veteran. And I have a physical disability, which I use a cane in small areas that I need to move in. And I have a walker, and I also have a wheelchair for when my condition is a little bit worse. I also have cognitive disability, which is adult dyslexia. Um, and processing things is a little bit different. Writing sometimes can be issues. I utilize things such as Otter and Speechify sometimes to read for me, and Otter to take in diction, so I can go back to refer to it for taking my notes when I am in different institutions or in work environment, or even on Zoom to support me. This provides me access to have an optimal experience. But in this learning modality of how in this course UDL was applied, we had the ability of working in small groups and big groups, having the agency to turn in our work through different modalities, which I found was very empowering and very motivative. It motivated me because, we're so used to doing things by writing, and for you not to be pressured into writing, I found like that was so liberating. So I'm grateful for that. Also, being able to allow everyone to be able to speak and be heard, um, and having videos and different medias being transcribed, and also the descriptions of audio and description of pictures that allowed us to be able to be engaged was amazing. I have not seen that being implemented in whether it's school or whether it's in work environment. So I found that very inspiring, and also allowed me to feel included. Also, due to the fact of me having hearing issues, the ability for everyone to have mics or to pass the mic so we have the ability to hear was amazing. I didn't have to struggle to hear and try to understand. Um, the ability for us to share our different funds of knowledge, our backgrounds, cultural and traditional context, so we were able to see different perspectives of how physical and non-physical disabilities have been looked at, and how ableism has shaped the ability for individuals to have access to things, um, which I found inspiring. And then also, even when we were doing the journal exercise, sharing with our journal partners, Even for, my journal partner saying that they were able to unlearn so much because we can see the textbook information about like things like IEPs for students with disabilities, or cognitive disabilities. But to actually hear from the perspective and the real time experiences of the parents and the children and the stakeholders that are involved gives you a different layer of what is going on. Take for instance, the superintendent, Vinny. A situation where he trusted his stakeholders and thought that they were doing the right thing by the children, not realizing that you know, these children that were black and brown were being targeted, and basically, their IEPs or their disabilities were being weaponized, which caused an issue, but once again, he was unaware and he trusted the individual. So there was not real checks and balances to see what was going on. And then also getting the parents' perspective on how their children were being treated. Like one parent shared his experience where he said that his child just had a knife and fork, had no idea that a knife and fork could be something that could be weaponized and turned into a weapon, and that his son was a threat. Um, and the thing is, when you have people that look like you that are still perpetuating the oppressive nature or behavior that we are trying to move away from, that can be a scar, especially when we looked at the cycle of social interaction from the time a child is born. And this child was very young, I think 4 years old, they said. And that child's first interaction being, you know, weaponized because of the fact that this child was black and brown and they had a plastic fork and knife, that it could be considered a weapon. Now that's put a scar and traumatized that child now, so we have to create psychologically safe environments for children and children with disabilities because they are unaware. It's us as adults or people that are the caregivers that imprint on them, with our thoughts and our fears. And sometimes because of people's unconscious biases, they cause more trauma and harm, and perpetuating the same oppression, especially in a society that has been built on ableism. So, seeing those things and also, as a former teacher with children with IEPs, looking at, parents also being able to advocate for their children, like Marina, who advocated for Skyland, making sure that she is involved with all of the stakeholders, the care team for Skyland to make sure she has access and opportunities, and for her to understand Skyland, and to be able to adapt in her type of learning. What does she need so she can have an optimal state of learning? So those different things, so it's not only just me as a teacher or you as a teacher. It also takes the family and the whole entire environment, and to have this understanding to look for to look to do what's best for the betterment of the child, and those who are involved, you know. And I don't feel like asking for accommodations is a compromise of the whole entire system. I think it's just micro changes that can lead to support a bigger issue, to support and rectify a bigger issues, making sure that people have what they need. And with the UDL, you're able to customize different styles of learning to make sure that everyone is included. And sometimes, there are these stereotypes and these stigmas that are placed on people with disabilities, with cognitive disabilities. And learning that, it takes a lot of courage and bravery to share what you're going through, as we looked at Elijah's situation versus Kevin's situation. These are individuals that are the legacy of people like Judy, Human. Elijah definitely is one, dealing with epilepsy, even though you couldn't physically see it, but this is something that physically see it when he's not having an episode, But this is something that he was suffering with, and him also being a black and brown individual and the perspective of person of POC, person of color, that you can see the different aspects of his, trajectory and what he dealt with to be seen and heard versus Kevin and what he dealt with being at Harvard and not being accessible for him. Um, as he stated also in HPL that it wasn't accessible, but all that he went through and even, going through a confrontation with actually somebody that was supposed to be, an instructor, and he had to go through that and be a catalyst for change in order for him to get what he needed to have optimal and environment of learning, which is sad. As much as we evolved, we had situations like the ADA compliance, you have policies like 504. We still are seeing, environments where we still need improvements, but it takes us to acknowledge and look and see that these things need changes. If we don't speak up, then there's not going to be change. That's why I think it is vital that we speak up. That's why, and change once again starts with us. Like if I don't speak up about what's happening, this is basic human rights, then what am I even doing this for? What is the purpose of learning and doing this class if we're not taking action in every form of what we're doing? Whether you're a teacher, whether you're in policy, whether you're in leadership, we must make change. And that's why I'm working right now. I created a document that I'm working to acknowledge some of the things that, that are not being taken care of here at this moment. Um, that I'm going to sit down with, some leadership to discuss that and how we can come to a mutual agreement to make some change. I believe that micro changes lead to a bigger change and bigger solutions. And sometimes, people are unaware of their own unconscious bias until we start having more trainings and understanding and trauma informed trainings for people to understand what their biases are, and also triggers that can trigger children, or cause, you know, traumatic experiences, even though the intention might not be, but it can. I mean, when we might look at, something, to some people, it might occur, might be small to them. But for people like Judy Human, that might look like the Great Wall of China. So we have to be mindful about the things that we take for granted. We're only one situation away from being disabled. God forbid that you don't have to that you don't have to go through something like that. But you know, and remember, as we get older, our body is not the same. So we have to be mindful of these things and also be an ally. You know, we can't be ignorant forever. And we can't perpetuate things that we saw. Thank God we don't have things like Willowbrook in this world anymore. But we must understand that this is a part of human rights, social justice, the work that we had, the work and the activities that we were involved in. All of this was set up for us to be able to be active to do the work that we need to do. And it has watching the movie Crip Camp had me so emotional. Just seeing Steve being able to communicate what Nancy had to say, the ability of the expansion of communication, even through sign language. When we watched the video in sign language, This Is Me from The Greatest Showman, it was beautiful because you still could get the same impact and the same message. Just like even a video of, the don't assume, with the young lady that was with Down syndrome, someone actually that has Down syndrome, somebody that, is telling us that we can't make assumptions, that they can do, so because sometimes the world of the able body thinks that somebody with disability is so fragile, they can't do this, but there is strength in our disability. And we are in it together. We are, no matter, and you can't use a one size fit all method when there's a large spectrum of people with disabilities, whether it's physical, whether it's visible or non-visible. So we have to be able to expand our knowledge to do better, and this change, as we say here at Harvard, is learning to change the world, and learning to change the world starts within ourselves, to do that introspection and to also um, look at how can we change ourselves, and then let that spread out to help others. So this is my final project for equity and opportunity. Thank you so much. Um, it was a wonderful experience.